Hi, my name is Elizabeth Bruce, and in my life in missions, I was working in Papua New Guinea, and I was a secretary. I was brought up in a Christian family, a happy Christian family, and in the late 60s, I made my own decision to follow Christ. I was living in my home place in Brisbane at a big church, a big Baptist church in the city, and I was involved in lots of things, and Girls' Brigade and Sunday school and Christian Endeavour and youth group and music, and enjoying all those things very much so, and being used, we felt, by God. And I began to feel that these experiences I had, if I moved, the other younger people would have the opportunities that I'd had. And so God began to unsettle me, and hey, there might be another place for you. So I began by thinking maybe I'll go north and do tent making via secretary up north and get involved in a youth group there. And nothing happened there. Then I thought, maybe I'll use my skills with SIL. So we went to night school and upped my speed so that I could offer SIL, and that didn't eventuate. And I thought about Aboriginal people's work, and that didn't open up. But Asia Pacific Christian Mission needed a typist urgently, and so I had that opportunity to offer, and that's when I went to Papua New Guinea. So God blessed me greatly, and I wasn't looking for a romance, but I ended up with a husband and 2 sons as well.
That's great. So did you meet your husband on the mission field?
I did. Yes. So I wasn't, as I said, looking for a match, neither was he. But when I flew into the Highlands, into Tari, he met the plane, and he is a Kiwi, and I thought he was interested in another friend who was already at Daly Teachers College, where we went to work, because she was a Kiwi. It took a while for me to realise, this man was interested in me. And we had a big missions conference with all the missionaries coming together, and that was a really special time. And a time of hearing God and persuading us that maybe God had this adventure for us together. I think when I think about mission, I think it's important that you love people regardless. And I remember way back when we were small children, but there was a dark man from America who came to the door, and I just remembered Mum and Dad being very welcoming. And I think our family was taught to respect everyone. And so being a Christian family and showing love and respect, that was great help. And I did tell Mum and Dad that I was considering that. They were absolutely overjoyed, and Dad would have liked himself to have been a missionary, but health didn't allow him, so he was delighted to have a daughter come. Absolutely. So very often provided for in so many ways. But I think probably mostly when we had our first son, I was born in Port Moresby, and we are so happy to have welcomed him. But we found eventually that he had Down syndrome. And so we immediately thought, what shall we do now? Do we need to go home? Do we need to relocate? And we're absolutely thrilled that so many people came to help. There's people in Port Moresby who are have careers, but their husbands work there and they can't use their careers. So we had a speech therapist, physiotherapist, kindy teachers, all offering their time for our son at free. And we couldn't afford to pay. And there was another provision of a new start for the underachiever group that's already visiting from Australia. And so they were able to show us things we could do for Richard. We did lots of patterning exercises. So any visitors who came, and we had plenty of them, always got to help with these exercises for Richard. And anyone coming would bring gluten-free baking bread. So we had dietary stuff for him too. With such a lot of provision. So thinking, oh, we should take him home. And he ended up living in Port Moresby until he was nearly 9. Yeah. So that was the time to go there. That was, so it had to be God's provision. I know to think of things we were doing because Downs babies are floppy babies. They suggested we should have this manipulated so that his neck was definitely strong, and not everybody agreed with that, but even the specialist doctors gave some money towards our fare to go to Australia and have that happen. And we just, all along, felt like God was showing us the way to go. Yeah. Well, yes, there is, very much so. Jim is an electrician, and so he was involved in setting up power in Tari, as our headquarters, and we were just getting to know each other at that stage. In fact, that night was to be our first date at dinner, and he was setting up an electricity pole, and he had local people holding onto ropes to hold it still. And the accident happened and the ropes were let go, and Jim was left holding his pole and then got zapped by 140,000 volts or something. That should have killed him. So there was amazing things that happened. And nurses were, missionary nurses were right there on my aid post and could help him. The weather, which usually closes down in Tari on afternoons, was clear, and there's a plane on the strip. I took Jim out to Mendy. Doctors wouldn't believe that he'd been zapped, actually, because he survived. He just had some burns. Yeah. So I was praying that night, there's God. If you save him, I will marry him. So it was very special to do this together. I remember when we had 1 year of marriage in Port Moresby, and then we went to Bible college for 2 years. And so many people were at college wondering what on earth they were going to do with their lives. And we had this absolute peace about being together and getting back to Port Moresby as soon as we could. It was such a rich time of being a couple. And then having children was always an opener for the local people. And just I dearly wanted to be an example, especially with breastfeeding. I wasn't able to breastfeed Richard because he just was too little and not able to. But the people were very, very caring and very willing to accept us as a family. Yeah. Forgive us for times when we stepped on their toes. I'm sure we did many times. And just welcome us back. Whenever we went away, they would welcome us back. Yeah. So we lived above the church. So he had very close contacts with house staff and with the local church. I don't remember us ever feeling unsafe as a family. Richard was a wanderer, and he would disappear often, and we were just above a market area, and then our local people would bring him back. This little white-haired amongst the black ones, and we had a police station opposite us, and he would go up there and visit the police and make himself at home there, and they would take him out in their patrol cars. Yeah, so as a family, I think we had many opportunities and much love shown us. I would often go walking very early in the morning, and Jim had many, many days when he would have to start at the airport very early. So when he got to have a sleep in, I would take the boys out and we would just walk early in the morning around the area. And maybe I wouldn't do it now, but we were safe, and we had never felt we were unsafe.
Well, how did you all find coming back to New Zealand?
It just seemed the right time. Jim wasn't now 50, and he was concerned about resettling a family and providing for us. He had been working a lot with immigration, and the first time he'd been asked for a bribe, and that was something he felt very uncomfortable about. And there were locals being able to pick up the work he was doing too. And just Richard's needs were utmost too. He's needing schooling. And then we had to decide what country to come to. So Jim's mum was still alive, but my parents had died. And so Jim was qualified here. And so we came back to New Zealand, and we thought we would have to go to a very low socioeconomic area, but we were provided to come back to Island Bay, where Jim was known and knew his work and his church, and his home life was he grew up on this street. So we had this comfortable little home to come to. And Jim was able to return to the company that he had worked for briefly before. So he was able to then move up to looking after the power for Wellington for the rest of his working days. There seemed to be no troubles with culture shock or anything like that, because we had lived in a capital city. I've got to say I've been welcomed as an Australian to New Zealand. All these few little jokes that go around, but I've always felt welcomed, and I was able to get a job in the health sector. Secretaries were now taken over by computers, and so I have ever since worked under district nursing and thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't expect to, but I found it really, really difficult living with a senior missionary lady who really wanted me to interact with her at nights in the lounge when I wanted to do some stuff in my room. I was 21. She was coming up 50. It was a big age difference. And I had this feeling that she really would like to be married. And so I felt a bit awkward living there. And what's more, I took the only available male. And yes, I didn't expect to find that difficulty, but I did. Yeah, we did work through it to a certain extent. We had our busy jobs to go to, and we did pray together. Yeah, it wasn't so easy with new homes built specifically for single people, but 4-bedroom homes. And after that, the mission realised that wasn't necessarily the right way to go. Yeah. Yes, yes. And I know one chose Bishop. She said, I'll only come if I can live alone. Yeah. So it takes personality and, difference and experiences that people have and maybe misinterpretation. Yeah. As a single in Tari, we went to take Bible in schools, and I would drive this big 4-wheel drive over slippery bridges and trucks and get back to where we had to go. We lived in Tari, in Dowley, at the edge of the dormitories for that. But I didn't feel unsafe anywhere, really. I remember feeling, I'm in this trade store. I'm the only white person here. There's a lot of Wigmen. They're bigger than me. But, I didn't feel unsafe. And I think that was absolutely a God provision. It would have to be Colossians 3:15 for when Jim and I were going together. That verse came to us separately to confirm that we should move on with our relationship, and that is, let the peace of Christ dwell in your heart. That scriptures. And then a friend of Jim's, a lady from his church, and it's a Presbyterian church, Jim's home church, which is now our church. An older lady, people were not that forward in sharing spiritually, and they often keep it inside. But this lady said to us, just know in all your ways acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. And that's another Proverbs 3:6, another very special verse. But so many others too. Well, we returned home, and it wasn't long before we established back in Jim's home church. So he became secretary of the church, and for most of the time since then. And we offered help where we could. Pastoral care, been in pastoral care probably ever since. And the boys are quite keen on music, and so they're both in the worship team, and that happened gradually over time as they learnt music and picked up guitar. Andrews was keen on guitar. Jim and I trained as facilitators for Toolbox, which is a parenting group and a parenting place nowadays. So for about 15 years, we held small groups for parents to share with them and share tips on rearing children. They don't come with a manual. And that was a really lovely opportunity. We had the opportunity to link with the Island Bay Community Centre, and so we used their premises and made it work well for everybody that would come. It was just groups of 12. Some of those people I still see quite often, and their children are now much, much older. It was a great blessing to be able to do that. Yeah. And only God knows people learned of Christ while we were doing that. It's very much a community offering. So helpful for me as an outsider to come in into Island Bay and get to know people. And be accepted. Yes, so I now am a prayer enabler at church, so I will try to encourage people with prayer. And I run prayer tracks. So I encourage people to spend time away, get a few hours away, concentrating on the beauty of our creation and praying and different themes that we use. Yes, so our music, I'm also in a music ensemble. Apart from the boys, we have another group as well for church. Yep. From very early on, my mum was very musical, but when I went to the Tabernacle, I met a friend and we became a duet. Way back then, that was what you did, and we sang together at Stedfordson at outreaches. And then we became a gospel group. 4 of us with guitars, and we did outreach around Brisbane and sometimes Queensland, called Sounds of Revival, and that's a blessing. And then when I went through BNG, we had a guitar, so I picked up guitar and learnt then. I mean, that's just for my own personal devotion. It was lovely. And also had a guitar at Bible College. It was a help. Bible in schools really helped. And then I went back to Moresby and started a little group teaching kids, young people, guitar. And then my guitar went walking. But since coming home, I had a patient who was in music, and when he died, his family offered his guitar, so now I use that one. So I enjoy it very much. I'm not that great, but I do enjoy it. So the boys had lessons from a good friend. Definitely. The hard part was losing Jim when he... so way back when we were returning after Bible College, Jim had x-rays that you used to have, and they got round like bees and thought, what's this? And apparently when he was in intermediate school, one kidney calcified, and he had lived ever since with just the one kidney, not knowing it particularly. And so the x-ray showed this problem, and they said, we need to take that out. So I said, well, why don't we take it out? And it's not giving me any problems. So we've got David Richmond, Pioneer's chairman, a kidney specialist, and he had some things to say about that, and that supported us so that we could go back to PNG. And then said, we've got Ken Cleese, specialist surgeon in Port Moresby. He'll pop it out if it needs to come out. And so they did allow us to continue and go back to Port Moresby, and it wasn't a problem at all until later when we came back. It was fine until probably Jim was about 79. I must start to have some impact, and just months before he died, it was showing his body was breaking down. Yep, sorry. He was 80 when he died, and I'm so thankful that wasn't a long, drawn-out thing. He was still speaking at church just a few months earlier. Yeah, so we had very wonderful 40 years together. And I certainly was aware that the 15-year difference, that he would probably die before me anyway. Yeah, so that's the hard time now, and especially with Richard, who misses his dad very, very much. Yeah. But, yeah, God is still walking with us, and right now I'm well supplied, company and provision, so well supplied. And health. My work takes me that journey with people all the time. I've got many, many people on their end of their journey of life. As that many of my patients, some of my patients are now choosing assisted dying, and that is a real heartbreak to me. Yeah, they do my respect, but I don't agree with what they're doing. And I think he makes it easier for us all, because he'll come in from work. Hi, Dad, I'm home. Then we often will talk about Dad, and especially at communion times at church, and speak about how he's remembering his dad. And he does that naturally. So, yeah, that helps us all. I don't know that there is, but I think that same thing, that respect and love for all people, knowing that God loves them unconditionally, as the first focus of anyone, any Christian. Yeah. And we had our church families. I think I may have changed a bit by now, but being in an interdenominational mission was not that easy, because being a Baptist church, they firstly would support Baptist missionaries. I think it was the same with the Presbyterian church here. And so we just got those individual people would support us, and the church would support various projects, but didn't get support like you would if you were in a Baptist mission. And the same for Presbyterian. We were allowed to be connected up with ladies' groups across the country, but not with churches themselves. Not like you were a Presbyterian mission. But one day your church might write a book and allow you to tell your story in it. I think short-term mission is great. I think it's, especially with the concerns of today, with how you're going to manage what you're going to do. Are you going to leave your job and lose it? Are you going to lose your career? Yeah, I think short-term mission gives you the sense of confirmation of what you might do, or ideas of what might happen. And I was thinking of my Fiji retreat. And the Fiji's are right, but you don't pick them, you let them fall. So don't push God, don't be in a rush, wait. And then the fruit is great. Yeah, let God work. And you'd like to have a letter from him about where you're going, but he will show you. Yeah. I just feel so blessed to have had the walk with mission, with the APC in particular. It's been so good to me. And I'm glad to be still involved. That's great.